OST round 4, me versus Suita Kaguya, or Reborn Queen on this account. It's another best of 3. The winner is going to take their place in the final 128 of the tournament. And round 1, this matchup is rough for me because Volcarona is an awkward one for this team to deal with in that I am SPDF Pex, but I'm eject button Pex, so I need to get rid of the eject button early on so that I can stay in on the Volcarona to haze it. And then the other problem is that I can haze it and recover it and all that kind of jazz, but I don't really threaten it very much, and so it's really just pretty free for it to just fish for SPDF drops with Psychic or to try and crit me. That's just kind of awkward. The other issue is that in a team where the point is that Blacephalon and Landorus break the team open so that Star Katana can sweep, they have the most Katana-proof team in the entire universe. Volcarona is a surprisingly good switch into it. Amoongus, can't touch that. Corviknight, can't touch that. So that's looking kind of difficult. Probably my best way to force progress against the team, Blacephalon still kind of can, but you need to get the Flamethrower / Shadow Ball prediction right every time. And you can also just kind of get set up on by Volcarona, which is questionable. And Landorus, I can't substitute ever really because the Weavile triple axle breaks the sub, then kills me. But if I'm able to get the Corviknight smacked down on a switch, I can start just earthquaking through everything, which is alright. And Katana can clean up if I'm able to kill the Volcarona, Corviknight, and Amoongus. You can Leaf Blade through the rest, but otherwise, I'm kind of feeling like, okay, I probably don't really have any kind of sweep to set up here. I need to just sort of gradually break through everything and try my best not to lose to Volcarona. Garchomp is another kind of awkward one because Corviknight won't die to it, but doesn't really threaten it back. Clefable, it's SPDF, it's not really a good switch in or answer. Landorus is dicey. I kind of need to be able to just get something in to pivot out to get Blacephalon or Katana in, but even then, you need damage on the Garchomp first because neither of those things just kill it. So this is going to be a tough game, but we'll get into it. As they lead Weavile and I lead Clefable, which is just thinking that pretty much I can just Thunderwave like the whole team other than Garchomp, which doesn't want to be Moonblasted. And Rocks are also just nice, especially on a team with a Volk where I could potentially knock it off. So they're going to switch, and I'm going to Thunderwave their Amoongus. And that's another problem here, is that with Amoongus, Spore is an awkward one, because if I was going to sack anything to sleep this game, it would just be Katana, because it isn't that good, but it's a grass type, so it can't be sleeps. And so thinking through who I want to be put asleep, the Corviknight feels too essential not to lose to Weavile, because the Toxapex, A, it's SPDF, making it more of a difficulty to check Weavile, and B, I don't want it to just get overloaded by having to deal with Volk and Weavile, and one of them being able to break through. The Landorus, I need it for forcing progress. The Blacephalon, I need it for forcing progress. And so I end up just, well, it gets fully paralyzed there, but I know I need to sack my Clef to sleep, so I just Thunderwave again in case they do something stupid. That'd give me more of a reward than Moonblasting, but I get put to sleep, and that is still kind of tough, because once they get a defog on the Corviknight, I'm probably never getting the rocks back up, because I just can't really give this kind of team enough turns to try and break out of sleep. So already kind of a rough start. I'm going to just go Pex here, because if you can't Spore, then you can't really do very much. And they go Corv, which is a good play, because you can just immediately start. You can just get your defog straight away. And like, maybe I could have doubled to Blacephalon, but just felt like a lot to do that early in the game before I've sussed out what kind of a player they are. So they defog, and I knock off. Take the helmet, which, I mean, isn't that important, but I suppose makes it a tiny bit easier for Katana to maybe do something in the late game. And they're going to U-turn out, popping my eject button, which is really nice, both because I need to get it used and because it lets me get Imblacephalon and start doing something. And here I'm thinking you shouldn't throw out your Corviknight, so I just try and go for the Shadow Ball. And I was hoping here that I could hit the maybe Slowking trying to catch a fire move, and that would be cool. And I also just really didn't want to waste the momentum that I just won myself with the eject button by flamethrowing into a Slowking. But I think the thing that I didn't really consider here is that the Corviknight does become kind of expendable, because there's an Amoonguss and a Volcarona. I'm not winning with Katana whatever I do, pretty much, unless they play really stupidly. And Corviknight's not that important for any of the rest of the team, especially when you don't know that I'm an offensive Landorus. Like, if you're expecting the normal Spadef type set, and you don't care about that so much. So maybe if I'd thought that through a bit more, then I could have just flamethrowed and killed it. But as is, I get good damage, but they get Weavile in, which is better than good damage. So I just go into my own Corviknight, and we learn from that they're a choice-banded Weavile from that damage. And here, I kind of feel as if I've got to U-turn rather than roost, because I really don't want to just let that Volcarona in. And on top of that, the Pex can still semi-deal with the Weavile, and so I don't feel like immediate roost is as essential as it maybe could be. But I'm just so scared of that Volcarona that I don't want to let it in for free. And they kind of take advantage of the fact that you rarely see Brave Bird on Corviknights these days. And so I'm able to U-turn on the Volcarona, and that gets me the Landorus in, and I can just kind of smack down here pretty freely. So they're going to go Corviknight. I get the smackdown off, and again, the Corviknight isn't that important, you can just sack it. So I kill the Corviknight, which is step one of Katana doing something, but not really, because the Volcarona and Amoonguss are among the best Katana answers in the game. They're going to go Garchomp now, which is another massive threat, especially with a low Corviknight. And I'm just kind of thinking at this point, okay, I just need damage on you. Like, I'd love to keep this Landorus healthy if I could, but if I dick about, then I can just lose. So I need to just Earthquake, get the damage, possibly die to a +2 Scale Shot. Although even then, they need to get enough hits of the Scale Shot. But if I get the damage, I can go Scarf Katana and revenge you, and that's how I don't just instantly lose to Garchomp. So Earthquake does half, that's pretty cool. Stone Edge does a shit ton, and I'm able to kill it. So this is cool. The Garchomp is down. I'm 6-4 up. That's kind of useful. But equally, now this isn't living a hit from Volcarona, which is kind of rough. And so I'm going to need to be really careful about possibly trying to get this all the way back up with leftovers, or otherwise figuring out something I can do there, or just being more reliant on the Pex to haze, recover, etc. forever. And they're going to double to Volcarona here as I go Pex. I think they might have been hoping for the Corviknight, but like, the Corviknight would just get to it KO'd, so that wouldn't make any sense. But Volcarona on the Pex still just works. They quiver up, and I just haze, because I know they're going to do that. So that's cool, and I get that right, but Quiver Dance has a lot of PP. I'm going to have to get this right a hell of a lot of times. They quiver again, and this time I just knock off their boots, which is optimistic, considering that the Clefable is asleep and has burnt no turns. But if I can miraculously get that thing to wake up and get rocks, then I'll be vibing. Psychic does a lot as I haze it. And they just Psychic again, which is the right play, because you could just get a crit or a Spadef drop and then you're in business. I Scold here, which I don't think was the play. I think I needed to either recover up or haze. I don't think Scold really achieved me very much there. And the Psychic is going to do a lot as I haze it, but now I'm in Psychic range. But the thought here is that I can be aggressive, I can get Blacephalon in, live a Psychic, and then threaten it out, and make something happen. So in comes Blacephalon, but they Quiver Dance again, which is scary. Although, because I'm Specs, Overheat does still kill. And I'm hoping they respect that, which they do, and they switch. Although, to some extent, I think if they just roosted there, they lived, they roosted again, I think they just won. But being careful and not dicking about with your win con is pretty sensible, because I could crit, I could also trick you, and then once you're Spec/Scarf, you're just not setting up and beating me anymore. So the Slowking comes in, and this sucks because I know it's going to just teleport and get momentum, but I can't really do anything about it. So I just go Pex, because I need to get my Regenerator, I need to get myself healthy again. And I can do that, but they can Quiver Dance up. Psychic again, haze. I'm getting kind of lucky with no drops or crits here. And I'm starting to think at this point, okay, can I just stall you entirely out of Psychics? Maybe, but equally, again, that's 11 more Psychics that I need to get not crit and not Spadef dropped. And I'm also gonna run out of recovers pretty soon after. And so we just kind of have a bit more of sitting in on each other. They go for a Flamethrower, trying to get a burn, as I just Scold into it. And I learned from this damage, by the way, that this is a bulky setup Volcarona rather than a fast and special attacky one. Haze again, whatever. We can kind of just skip through for a bit. And I now try and make another aggressive Blacephalon. And I think here, I reckon I probably shouldn't have done that. I think I needed to just stay in with the Pex, because this is just a bit impatient and gives them an opening, as they Quiver Dance again. And now this is pretty bad. They're able to roost and survive the overheat pretty comfortably. And I think I had to trick, because Psychic/Flamethrower, if you want a Flamethrower, then Pex just sits in on you forever. And if you Psychic, then it's still difficult. But like Corviknight can come in and roost. Clefable can like live some hits and burn some sleep turns. I'd be a bit more in with a chance. So definitely had to trick there. And by overheating, I've just kind of fucked it, because like now they can roost, now they're plus all this. Psychic again, I can haze. So it's not the absolute end of the world, to be fair. But now I make another aggressive Blacephalon, this time catching it. And here, it is in overheat range when it's on neutral, not any plus for death. So knowing that you shouldn't throw out the win con for no reason, I just Shadow Ball into the Slowking. And I get that right, which is cool. I get a lot of damage, but now they're able to get in Weavile, taking a shit ton, but putting them back on the front foot. And I was thinking there that maybe they just throw out their Slowking, because it's not super essential, and at least I get damage on the Weavile. So I felt relatively comfortable in staying in and Shadow Balling. But the Weavile's in, and they make a really good play here. They double into Slowking on the Pex that is pretty forced from me. And that's just going to let them get Regenerator and get themselves healthy again. I then meet that with a similarly aggressive play, which is, I feel like, well, you don't ever Scold, right? You teleport, or you Future Sight, or you slack off. Either way, Landorus can get in, can get some leftovers, and can just start hitting things. And they go Amoonguss, which is just about able to take the Earthquake. And here's where I make another mistake, which is that... Wait, no, not here. I make a mistake a bit later. Yeah, so I go Corviknight on the Amoonguss, which, when it's already used its Spore, is really safe. And I just roost it back up, because, again, don't really want to lose to Weavile if I can help it. And They go for another future sight, which I kind of figured would be more likely, so I don't need to be as careful about the Volcarona. I get that right that time. And now I go another aggressive Landorus, get my HP back. And now I'm like sitting kind of pretty. I'm on 46, that's nice. But equally, I get outsped and can die here. And again, another mistake. I smack down as they go Amoonguss and I just die to Future Sight. And I just thought that I would live. I really should have calced it. And even if that was a roll, if there's any chance of the Lando going down, I shouldn't have taken that risk. And yeah, just with that, I lose the Lando. I lose a really good way of pressuring the opposing team. Like any damage chip on the Amoonguss at all, and that's getting a kill when it comes in. But I think my mindset was just this Volcarona is such a threat that I kind of need to just attack into it, because if it Quiver Dances up, then I'm fucked because I can't go Pex because of the Future Sight. So like there was a mindset behind it, but equally, I think Quiver Dancing there and risking the Volcarona again would have been a terrible play. And I just should have been more careful. But I wasn't, and the Lando goes down, and that is going to let in the Blacephalon. The Amoonguss just about lives a Specs Shadow Ball here, which is annoying, because otherwise I could just very freely go for that and claim a kill. But as is, if they go Slowking on a Flamethrower, then that puts them in a really nice spot. But I kind of just think at this point, I call that you don't want... The Amoonguss is more okay to risk than the Slowking. Just because Slowking, you can forever come in on Pex, teleport out, claim the momentum. That's really nice. Whereas Amoonguss has kind of done its job, it spored somebody, and you just still have this Volcarona that means that the Katana isn't ever going to win. So it's kind of fine to sack another answer to that. And here they Future Sight. I'm kind of thinking now, okay, rather than A, having to risk more sidekicks, getting Spadef drops or crits, and B, taking a Future Sight that'll do a shit ton to my packs, what I can do here, I decide if I can quickly wake up, I can paralyze the Volcarona, absorb the Future Sight, go packs, haze it, and then I just win. Because with that, they just don't have a way of pressuring or breaking through my team. And so I just need this Clef to wake up in a reasonable time frame. I did this expecting the teleport out here, but by Future Sighting, they give me an extra turn to possibly wake up. But I don't wake up... Well, no, I have to sleep for one turn, but I don't get the first turn wake as they Quiver Dance, and I take a Future Sight. They Quiver Dance again. I don't get the second turn wake. They Quiver Dance again. And my Clefable finally wakes up and gets the paralysis. But, like, I mean, I can't whinge too much, right? Like, ultimately, I decided to risk that. So, can't really complain. But I eventually get it paralyzed. But it's kind of just too little too late. And yeah, just an awkward one. I get it paralyzed, but already at this point, I think I need the Volcarona to get fully paralyzed on the turn that I haze it with the Pex. And if it gets fully paralyzed, then I win. So that's cool. I go Blacephalon here just to sack it and get a free Pex switch in. Die, sure, whatever. Now I bring in the Pex, and it breaks through the paralysis again. I go Cart thinking, okay, well, if you get paralyzed like 3 times in a row or something, and I don't get flame bodied at all, I can knock you off all the way down. Then I can switch, sack something, go back into you, and Leaf Blade the other two. So still some degree of chance. But insult to injury, I get burnt by Flamethrower, I die, and with that, there's no way back for me, so I just forfeit. So that game was... yeah, I made a couple of mistakes. It was always going to be an uphill battle for me. And I mean, they played well as well. Like, I don't mean to diminish that. Like, they positioned the Volcarona really well. They weren't stupid with it. They didn't risk it at any of the points where I played as if they might. Like, they did play well. They deserved the win. Though, equally, it did just kind of feel like there wasn't really anything going right for me that game. But, that's Mons, isn't it? Like, they're the deserved winner of game one. And I'm kind of beginning to just feel like this might just not be my day. And that feeling compounds as we get into this game. So this time, I'm bringing the same Zero Aura plus Melmetal team that has been on the channel before, and they've got this fat balance with a Reuniclus, which will later reveal itself to be the disgusting defense-boosting acid armor calm mindset against my team that has no dark type, which is kind of rough. And on top of that, it's not a very good matchup for Zero Aura in that just firstly, Landorus, secondly, Clefable lives a lot of hits, Scarf Katana can revenge it, Toxapex lives a Plasma Fist even after a bulk up. It just feels like an awkward matchup, really, for me. Like, this team in general, it has ways past Pex, but it struggles a little bit. Like, you have to kind of play it right, and Pex plus a few relevant things can be really hard to break. And the thing here is that Slowking likes to Future Sight, then teleport into Urshifu, so that you get an Urshifu hit plus Future Sight. But the problem with that is that Reuniclus is going to be living. Like, the Reuniclus doesn't care about Future Sight. And when it's Fizz Death, it's living a hit off things like Urshifu. It just feels like a kind of rough game for me. But we'll get into it. I'm kind of just rambling here. So I lead Tornadus thinking that pretty much anything that you lead with, other than the Tyranitar, I can knock it off. I can just be annoying to start out with. And then maybe later on, as a result of the knocking off and disrupting and being annoying, I can do something with Zero Aura / Melmetal. But they lead Pex, and I decide to U-turn out thinking, actually, Tornadus is really important this game, because it is. Like, it is the main Katana switching in that Melmetal doesn't appreciate being knocked off on a leftovers set, and everyone else just struggles. So I think, okay, I want to keep my boots because Katana plus Rocks can be a big problem. And I just go Slowking thinking, okay, well, I can Future Sight, I can teleport out into whatever I want. As they are going to Toxic Spike, which, as long as those spikes are up, that's going to keep the Urshifu and Zero Aura just off the field completely, because I really don't want them getting poisoned. And it's also kind of rough because my Defogger Tornadus, it really doesn't threaten Pex, and so Toxapex can just kind of sit in there on my defogs and get the spikes back up and just keep those up relatively comfortably if it wants to. And all I can really do is try to Hurricane Confusion Hacks it down. And I was expecting here the Pex to just knock off my boots, and I was thinking, okay, fine, I have to just take that. There's not really anything I can do about it, and Slowking isn't that important in this game. In the Reuniclus, Slowking just lets it set up, so I just need to come in and teleport out, which I can do without boots. Pex, again, I just come in on it, I teleport out. I can do that without boots, and more or less everybody else is beating it. They make a very aggressive Katana on my teleport. I think potentially expecting a Future Sight and just wanting to immediately force progress, but as is, I'm able to just teleport out, get in my Tornadus, and then from that, I can just get a very free knockoff, because even if you stay in, I get your item, you have no way of killing me, then I can just Hurricane and U-turn out. And getting the Tyranitar knocked off is... I mean, this team doesn't struggle with Tyranitar, but given that their rocker is Tyranitar, getting rid of the leftovers, the recovery, is just nice, because that means that hopefully I can just whittle it down and then eventually get rid of it and defog and just not have to deal with rocks all game. And I defog away the toxic spikes here, which was aggressive in that, a Tyranitar can just go for a rock move and kill me. But my thought process was that when the Melmetal is there, when the Landorus with Intimidate is there, you probably don't want to just do a dinky little rock attack into it when you can just get your rocks. And so I make that aggressive play and it works out. And I'm hoping from that they'll kind of expect me to keep being that reckless throughout the rest of the game and play accordingly. And with that, I'm able to just U-turn out, which only 22, but that's nice damage when they don't have any recovery. Like, I've already got a decent chunk on it. And now I'm going to go Urshifu. And that does mean that I take Rocks, Sandstorm, and a Rock Blast, which is kind of unpleasant, but obviously I force the Tyranitar out. But I can't really U-turn, because then I'm just taking even more damage from the Pex on the Rocky Helmet, as they get a lot of hits on the Rock Blast. And because I can't U-turn, I just double into the Torn, trying to catch it, because if I can knock off the Rocky Helmet, then I can just get I could get Urshifu in on the Tyranitar or the Landorus and just always U-turn and just get the momentum and not care. So that's cool. I knock off, I take the helmet. Nice for Urshifu, as they just stay in and Scald. And that's going to just allow me to defog the rocks away pretty easily. And again, like, now they have to get the Tyranitar in, they have to spend a turn going for rocks. And in that time, I'm able to switch about into whoever I want. It's just useful. They Scald again, they burn me. And I'm kind of thinking at this point, do you not have knockoff? Because you could take my boots really easily. And so thinking about I'm thinking maybe they're Toxic Spike instead of knockoff on the standard Pex set, meaning that Recover Haze would be your last moves. And again, on the Slowking, you'd think the knockoff will be really free. And when you're setting Toxic Spikes, that's really good, because the Slowking will get poisoned once I lose the boots. But again, they make the aggressive Katana on the Slowking. And I'm noticing that's kind of becoming a pattern. And so I'm kind of thinking in the back of my head, okay, next time I'm going to try and punish that. But for now, I just get my Future Sight up. And I go Landorus here, which is because the Tornadus is too low, to the point that if it's a Choice Scarf Katana, then 2 knockoffs will kill it, including the burn. And with the Landorus, I'm just thinking, okay, you're not that important this game. And I kind of just have to give up the leftovers on you over anybody else. And from this damage, I should have calced and seen that that's choice banded damage, but I didn't. I just saw it and went, that wasn't very much. You're probably Scarf, which will come back to bite me in the ass later. But at least for now, I'm able to just get a nice U-turn off. Not a U-turn, a Rocks, which I was just thinking, okay, well, I need to be able to punish a Landorus coming in on the Zeraora. If I can, chip that down, chip down the Tyranitar. That's all good stuff. And they go Landorus, and they take the Future Sight. And from that Future Sight damage, because I'm an uninvested Slowking, I see that that's a Landorus without any HP or Spadef. So, especially with the lack of leftovers, I see you're probably a Choice Scarf Landorus. And so, initially when I saw Landorus come in, I was going, okay, I'm going to Toxic you. That's really nice for Zeraora. But after all of that, and seeing it Scarf, I just kind of go, okay, well, I don't even need to Toxic you. I can just U-turn. And they're going to U-turn and go into Pex, as I just U-turn out, which is cool. And I'm able to just get the Tornadoes back in. And at this point, I don't want to default quite yet, because I still want to get some more rounds of my own rocks on the Tyranitar, on the Landorus, and the Pex can just put the Toxic Spikes straight back up. But I just U-turn out because the main reason I went Tornadus was so that I could get that Regenerator off, get myself back up to full, be a Katana switch in a bit more easily. And this time, I just scold because I was seeing, okay, you keep going Katana on my Slowking. That's very risky. Let's just see if I can burn you. And so they don't get burnt, and that's a shame. I'd have been in a really nice position if they were. I don't think you should ever be risking that, especially when you just kind of make a pattern out of it like this. But I was thinking that I like Scald more than I like Teleport, because even if I don't get the burn, I can just go Tornadus and I'm still fine. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, as I take a shit ton from the knockoff, and then I realise, oh, that is Choice Banded. Oops. So I U-turn out, as they go Clef, which just lets in Melmetal, and they go Landorus, which I thought was weird, because I go Tornadus just expecting the Pex and hoping to U-turn out and get my Regenerator. I'm not really sure why you would go a Landorus that is guaranteed taking rocks, and if I don't Thunder Punch is probably dying. I don't know why you do that over the Pex, but in this case, they do. And because it's Scarf, I can't stay in because I could just die to Stone Edge. So I go into Melmetal thinking, okay, well, you U-turn or you Stone Edge. Either way, I'm fine. You never Earthquake there. And they just get in their Pex. But that's cool, because every time they go Pex, I'm able to just get Tornadus in, U-turn out, get a bit healthier. And yeah, with that, I'm back up to 84 on the Tornadus. That's really nice. In comes Melmetal again. And at this point, having seen that this person is kind of... They make the same play repeatedly, right? Like, they kept going Katana on the Slowking. I was thinking, okay, well, if you're not going to go Pex on the Melmetal, then I'm going to behave accordingly. And if you want to just give me the Landorus, then I will very happily accept your Landorus. So I get the Landorus, and that's really nice for Zeraora. And now I'm thinking, okay, at some point, I'm going to defog away the Toxic Spike. I'm going to get in Zeraora. I'll be vibing. But that sentiment is kind of cut short as the Reuniclus comes in, and I increasingly realize, oh, fuck, what do I do against Reuniclus? The out that I do have is that if it wants to Acid Armor up, Urshifu, Surging Strikes, because it guaranteed crits, it ignores the defense boosts. And a Fizz Def Reuniclus, it takes something like 55 to 70-ish off a banded Surging Strikes. And so I'm thinking, okay, I can try and flinch you down a bit with Double Iron Bash, because I do have a bit of speed on this Melmetal, so I will outspeed you. I can try for that, try and get you in range of the Urshifu attack, and then I might be good, but I'm also kind of thinking, yeah, I might just lose here, that's rough. And the Double Iron Bash absolutely bounces off, revealing that that is a fully Fizz Def Reuniclus. And I just go Slowking here, because I want to teleport out to get a free switch into whoever I'm going into. And in this case, that's going to be Tornadus, because I think, okay, well, if I'm trying to wear you down, I need to at least take your leftovers. I get the leftovers as they start calm minding up. And part of me thinks here, okay, do I just need to try and Hurricane Confuse you down? But I still feel like maybe not. Let's not throw out the Tornadus, because even if I get rid of the Reuniclus, life after Reuniclus in the rest of the game is going to be harder without the Tornadus when I don't really switch into Toxapex well. I just Scald for a bit more damage here, because, I mean, at least I'm a Spadef Slowking. You're not going to do huge damage back. Teleport back into Melmetal, go for another flinch. Does fucking 6 and 7. Do get the flinch, which is nice. But even then, like, I'm kind of relying on a choke here, because if you just recover, then I've lost all my progress, and you're still really set up. And even at 69, there's something like a 6% chance that Shifu kills, so I need more damage. This is looking pretty rough, is my point. So, I'm back into Slowking, teleport out, Landorus, U-turn out, and I'm kind of just praying for a crit somewhere in here, really. But that's when I see Psyshock instead of Stored Power. If it was Stored Power, I was really, really fucked. But I think the reason that they go Psyshock is as a kind of mid-ground of, if you're against a team that doesn't allow Reuniclus opportunities to set up, then at least you have Psyshock. You're not as much of a dead weight as you would be if you can only fire off like 20 base powers, stored powers. And I think the other reason is to match up better into Toxapex, because if the Pex is just going to haze you over and over, then you can't really do anything with stored power, and Psyshock will at least get reasonable damage on it. So I kind of see why you would, but I also feel like if you're going to go for this kind of set, then like just go all in, go for stored power. Like when it works, make it work. But because they're Psyshock, I realized that I have a Fizz-Def Melmetal, which even at +4 takes 20%. And I'm going to start Iron Defensing it up, which is pretty cool. So I'm able to get a substitute as they keep Calm Minding, and from there, I'm going to Iron Defense again. And so they Psyshock, it doesn't break the sub. So this is cool. I don't instantly lose the Reuniclus because it isn't stored power. That's pretty nice. But the problem is that this still isn't very good for me because it's at +6 defense. My body presses aren't going to be doing very much. Like a crit isn't even going to be enough. And long term, I lose a PP stalling battle just because they have a lot of moves with loads of PP. Acid Armor and Calm Minds, 32 each. Recover and Psyshock, 16. Whereas for me, Double Iron Bash, only 8. Iron Defense, 24. Sub, 16. And Body Press, 16. They have way more moves, so they're going to win long term because they can just click like Acid Armor and Calm Mind a lot until I run out and I struggle myself to death. The other issue is that the Pex can just haze me. So I'm kind of thinking at this point, okay, this is probably still pretty dire. At some point, I probably need to risk the Slowking to get in, to teleport back out into Melmetal, just so that I'm not wasting so much PP on the Melmetal. This isn't looking good, is the point. So I just Iron Defense again to take as little as possible from the Psyshocks. Still doesn't break the sub, which is cool. And then they forfeit. I was astonished by this forfeit. Because just as we've said, do you not have haze on your Pex? Do you not just win in the long term by trying to PP stall me out? I was extremely confused by this. Especially when the Pex doesn't appear to be knockoff. So I was really, really unsure what that Pex was. Like, either they just forgot that they were haze, or maybe they're Toxic Spike, Scold, Recover, Toxic, or maybe Poison Jab for Calm Mind, Taunt, Tapu Finis. I am deeply confused by that game. I have absolutely no idea why they forfeited. And so, both that the Reuniclus wasn't stored power but Psyshock, and that they forfeited when they were probably still winning, both of those things went my way. And I'm very confused to still be in this at 1-1 and to have a chance to somehow make it through in the third round, despite all that. But equally, like, I'll take it. So, with that, we're going to move into the third game. And for the third game, I've got this Regieleki Future Sight team. But they have a very Regieleki-proof team. They have Volcarona that, like, doesn't die and can Quiver Dance and boost up. They have Garchomp, which is immune to everything. They have Ferrothorn, which resists anything you want to do. And they have Zeraora, which is Volt Absorbing. So the whole premise of Future Sight things, get Regieleki in, force damage, that's going to be really hard to do. And so looking at it, I was thinking, okay, how else do I win the game if not by Regieleki? The Weavile, there's a lot of things that stand in Weavile's way, but I'm feeling like I have more of a chance of setting up Weavile to win than I do Regieleki, because Tapu Fini, it's a switch in, but it gets worn down, I can knock off its leftovers, I can get hazards. Volcarona, if it's a defensive setup set, then, I mean, I risk the flame body when I hit it, but there's not really anything I can do about that. I have to just chance it. And at least if I'm able to Swords Dance up, then I'm doing like 90-odd% to it. So that's kind of cool. And if it just wants to come in on knockoff at some point, if I avoid the flame body, then I get rocks up later, and then it's not so much of a threat. And then Ferrothorn needs a decent bit of chip, and Zeraora needs to be chipped to be in Ice Shard range. It's still a pretty tall task, but it's what I'm going to be working towards. And on their side, the Volcarona is, again, very scary, as Volcarona generally is. Although this time, I've got a Spadef Landorus, which, if I can keep it healthy, then I can Toxic the Volcarona, and then I'm good. I've got a Heatran, which is Taunt, so I can stop it from just setting up to Oblivion, I can prevent it from roosting back up, I can get damage on it. That's kind of cool. But then the problem with the Spadef Landorus as an answer is that it can get just overwhelmed trying to answer the Zeraora and the Volcarona. So like, if I go Landorus on Zeraora, I get knocked off, I've lost my recovery. Now I'm really struggling to switch into Volcarona. That's just going to get very difficult very quickly. Additionally, the Garchomp has the potential to be pretty scary. I have got the Slowbro, which can teleport out into Weavile to kind of offensively check it, but I'm not Heavy Duty Boots, I'm Colbur Berry on this, so I can get worn down by hazards, and we'll see later on that Slowbro, even with Regenerator, is going to kind of struggle to consistently answer Garchomp for the entire game. But with that, we'll get into it. They lead Tornadus as I lead Slowbro, just thinking, okay, well, I can teleport out on pretty much everything. If they lead Ferrothorn, I just body press it to immediately start getting damage for Weavile. I don't really have a massive justification for Slowbro, really. I just kind of got the vibe that I should lead with it somehow, and it works out. So they're going to knock off, and I'm fine giving up my Colbur Berry because they don't have any, like, say, Weavile or Bishop or strong Dark-type attackers. So that's just fine, and I immediately am going to just throw out my Future Sight and then try and teleport out. Dodge a Hurricane, doesn't really matter because Regenerator. And I teleport out into Regieleki. And so that's the point of this team, right? Is that you get the Future Sight, you teleport Regieleki, and then if they want to switch in their ground type, they have to take a Future Sight. And so, obviously, it's kind of hard to Volt Switch when there's a Garchomp and a Zeraora, but my thought process here is that Ferrothorn, it doesn't really care what Regieleki does still, and it also doesn't mind taking a Future Sight so much because it resists it, and you don't want to let your Garchomp / Zeraora take the Future Sight this early in the game. And so I think, despite them being there, I'm still kind of safe to Volt Switch here, and that works out for me. I catch the Ferrothorn, I'm able to get Heatran in, and we get a decent chunk on the Ferrothorn from Volt Switch, plus Future Sight, which is really nice for Weavile, and I'm very free to just get my rocks up here. They go Garchomp, I go Slowbro on it, and I'm going to just teleport out as they go Tapu Fini, which, okay, pretty nice start for me, really. I get Regieleki back in, and this time I'm thinking, okay, well, I Volt Switched the first time. They might just be thinking that I'm going to keep, like, trying to get electric attacks off. And so because of that, I could just Rapid Spin, because worst case, they go Garchomp, I get rid of the rocks, and then what? We just kind of do the same sequence again of I go Slowbro again on the Garchomp as you rocks again, teleport out. The Tapu Fini is taking more damage from rocks as it comes back in again. I'm cool with that. But they're going to go Zeraora instead, which I think is just trying to catch a Volt Switch, and then you can get a knockoff to force progress, which is useful. I think Garchomp is better than Zeraora there because, well, I'm either spinning or I'm going for the Volt Switch, and Garchomp is fine with either of those because you get rough skin damage, you get rocks back up, and I think that a Weavile double on the Garchomp there would have been very ambitious and completely unnecessary, so I wouldn't do that. And I say that because Zeraora would also catch the Weavile double. But I'm able to get rid of that, and I go Ferrothorn here instead of Landorus, which is because I need Landorus more because it answers the Volcarona. And so I'm thinking, A, I don't want to get knocked off on there, and B, if I'm taking a hit from Zeraora here, then I'm getting Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet off, and that's going to be, again, really good for Weavile. And so they're actually toxic, trying to catch the Landorus there, which is, I mean, I see why you go for that, but I always prefer Ferrothorn there. Like, I wasn't predicting a toxic, I was just saying I would rather have the Ferrothorn take that hit. And they're going to take a shit ton of damage off close combat as I just Leech Seed. And this is great for me. Like, I'm getting all of this damage on the Zeraora. It's in range of a +2 Ice Shard now. Ferrothorn's not even that weak. I'm loving it. I think their thought process is probably, okay, if I can get damage on this Ferrothorn, that's going to help open up Garchomp. But I think I get the better ends of this exchange, really. So now they're going to go into their Ferrothorn, and I'm going to take that chance to get a Spike, which is really good because the Tapu Fini is going to take 24% whenever it comes in. Garchomp doesn't appreciate a Spike. That's just nice. And as the Ferrothorn comes in, I let it get its own Spike up, but I just body press it because, again, damaging this for Weavile, amazing. I'm getting closer and closer to Weavile being able to do it. Like, at this point, you die. You have to take 24 and a knockoff next time you come in on a Weavile, and then the time after that, you're going to die. The Volcarona is going to have to take a knockoff when there's a bunch of hazards up. Garchomp dies. That's going to be really good. I go Slowbro there because I can take a knockoff, I can take a body press if you want to do that, and otherwise, I'm not that threatened by anything you do. I can just teleport out to safely get the Heatran in. Except they're going to go hard into Tornadus instead of getting their third Spike, and that's cool because that lets Weavile in. And here, I'm just thinking, if I triple Axle into the Volcarona, I probably get Burn, and then I've fucked it. And so I feel pretty free in just knockoffing, and the Tapu Fini comes in, takes a shit ton after all of that. It's on half, it's got no recovery, vibes are being had. I go Ferrothorn here, because I'm thinking at this point, I've still got the Slowbro to answer the Garchomp, that's completely fine. Ferrothorn isn't as important, like the Zeraora is already weak, I've got the hazards up already, that's all just nice. And Whirlpool there shows why I definitely shouldn't have gone Slowbro, because if I went Slowbro and got Whirlpooled, then they taunt, their Nature's Madness be down, Garchomp is going to be really scary after that. And here, I just Power Whip, which is my last move, into the Tapu Fini. They actually just taunt and let me Power Whip and kill them. And I think that you're probably just expecting my last move to be something like Knockoff or maybe Thunder Wave, and you don't want me to Leech Seed and start getting my health back. But I think it's very optimistic to just kind of go, okay, well, I hope you don't have Power Whip so that I can trap you. Like, I don't really see the point in that, and just, I don't need this Ferrothorn. You did want that as a Weavile answer. And so I'm able to just get the Tapu Fini, but I think that something like a Volcarona or a Tornadus would have been very safe switch-ins that, like, worst case, I Leech Seed, I get 12% back, then you threaten me out. I don't agree with giving me the Tapu Fini there. But Garchomp's going to come in, so I go Slowbro as they Swords Dance up. And on one hand, this is cool because it means I can just teleport out, get the Weavile back in again, and I'll be vibing. But what we'll see here is that after they get the leftovers, the Earthquake does 60%. I teleport out, Weavile's in, great. But the issue is that next time Garchomp comes in and Swords Dances on something, Slowbro isn't in a position to come in on it anymore. So I'm alright for now, but that's not going to last. And here, it's again is like, do I knock off? Do I triple axle? if you want to be ballsy, you can just stay in on the knockoff and kill my Weavile and probably win the game. But I'm thinking now, okay, so firstly, your Garchomp, especially after you get that damage on the Slowbro, your Garchomp's in an amazing position. You shouldn't risk it, especially when I have a Regieleki. And also, I'm thinking, if I knock off and do a lot to the Garchomp and take its recovery and there's hazards up, that's still really nice for Regieleki. And with the Zeraora weakened, I could maybe try and win with that instead. And so I feel reasonably safe in just knocking off here rather than attacking what's in front of me. And they're going to go Volcarona. I'm going to knock it off. From the damage, we learn that it's a bulky Volcarona, and mercifully, I do not get flame bodied. And this knockoff is great because now it's taking half whenever it wants to come in again. Like, it has to roost now because if it doesn't, it just dies when it comes in. So that's a vibe. I go Landorus as they have to roost, and I just Toxic on the Tornadus just because if Ferrothorn comes in, it takes spikes and rocks, it's low, I can just Earthquake it afterwards, that's all fine. So I get the Toxic off, which is cool, and here, I know it's going to defog just because, like, you've got to. And so I could, like, U-turn or something, but I just saw it as, well, by U-turning, I do, like, 5%, it regens it off, that gains me nothing, and I'm risking getting knocked off or Hurricaned on the Landorus, which opens up Volcarona. So even though I know you're defogging, I just make the hard switch as if you're going to attack anyway, and I just try to sack the Ferrothorn. They defog. And from here, it's kind of an awkward one for them of, if they just stay in and kill me, then they let in Weavile, and I'm going to be vibing. But they don't want to U-turn out to kill me, because then they just take Iron Barbs and Helmet, negating their Regenerator. But I just go Heatran, taking the knockoff, thinking that, okay, well, I'm probably not staying in on the Garchomp anyway, when I've got Slowbro who I can bring up, and Landorus, and an Ice Sharder. Like, I have enough outs against that, and I'm able to just, knowing you won't U-turn, I'm able to just get my rocks back after you defog, and you can't just stay in and keep defogging, both because I damage you and because you're toxic. So that works out for me. I get it in. The Tornadus U-turns out now. Garchomp comes in as I get my rocks. And what is a little bit dicey is that I can't go Slowbro anymore because I'm going to die. So I go Landorus instead. And I mean, again, I don't want to let this take damage because of the Volcarona, and I want to Toxic that, but equally, it's lost its boots. I've got my rocks back up. I'm hoping that with the rocks, it shouldn't be as big of a threat. So the Landorus is going to just Stone Edge and do a shit ton here as I Toxic it. And this is cool because it's on a timer. Regieleki is going to like that a lot, that the Garchomp's never recovering, it's being damaged whenever it comes in. And now I can kind of just pivot about a bit, be annoying, try and rack up some more damage on it. So I'm going to go Slowbro as they go for their rocks instead. But this is cool because now it's only at +1 from the Intimidate, so now I can live a hit and teleport back out and get Weavile in again if I want. But I slack off just thinking, okay, let's be a little bit careful. We're in a winning position, but let's not just throw away the game and still manage to lose to the Garchomp or get into a dicey situation with that. The Tornadus is going to come in, misses another Hurricane, but again, like, Regenerator, don't really care. And so Weavile comes in here, and I kind of stop and think, okay, on one hand, I have always made the prediction with Weavile. I keep knocking off, so I think you're going to stay in and try and catch some knockoff and damage me. But despite that, if I Sword Stance, I kind of win. Like, all I need is to, if I don't get confused by the Hurricane, then I don't get flame bodied by the Volcarona, then I just win on the spot. Because at +2, you get Ice Sharded, you get Ice Sharded, you get knocked off, you get knocked off, you get knocked off. Everything dies. And so I just kind of decide, you know what, sure, I like those odds. I Swords Dance, they miss another Hurricane. But again, like, yes, they've missed a lot of Hurricanes, but I was counting on the Hurricane hitting. Like, I just needed it to not confuse me, because to kill me, you'd have needed to have Focus Blast, but you'd shown me all your moves, so I know that you don't. And so with that, stage 1 of Win with Weavile has gone to plan. Now I just need to not get flame bodied by the Volcarona, and I'm going to win. So I knock off the Tornadus, dies, cool. Volcarona comes in, knock off, dies, cool. And I don't get flame bodied, and they forfeit. I think even if they did get flame bodied, I'd have still won, just because, like, you're not going to break through everything with half of your team, a weak Zeraora, and a toxic Garchomp. But with that, I'm able to win pretty convincingly, 6-0, and I was really glad about that, just because, like, the first 2 games were so dicey and so questionable that just wrapping it up with a really convincing win felt really good. If you've made it for the entire nearly an hour of listening to me speak, thank you so much for watching. Bye.